Okay, it's time to get down to brass taxes here. Normally, I do not enjoy talking about rumors surrounding the Montreal Canadiens, trade rumors, signing rumors, whatever. One, because a lot of the stuff you hear coming out of the Montreal media or the Toronto media or what have you is false. These insiders don't find out about HABS transactions until they happen. Look at the recent Jeff Petrie signing. Nobody was talking about that in the hockey world until the Montreal Canadiens Twitter announced it. And Marc Bergevin and Petrie's agent had been talking about this for a week prior to that, and nothing leaked. Just management decisions or discussions don't leak out of the Montreal Canadiens organization. No one saw the Weber-Subban deal coming. No one saw the return for Pacioretty coming. No one saw Domi coming to Montreal. So when these rumors come about, I'd rather not speak on them because it opens me up to being wrong and to theorize about things that don't end up happening. However, some of the stuff lately is just, I gotta say something, and I figure you guys would enjoy a little content of me speaking on some of these recent topics. So let's start with, let's just start with Phil Danault. He's now being talked about as if he should be traded out of Montreal because of some comments that he made about not wanting a lesser role on the team. Now, personally, I don't know what you'd expect out of an athlete being asked questions like he was being asked. But, you know, I cannot see him being traded out of Montreal, and I can see him signing a very nice long-term extension with the Montreal Canadiens. One, because I think Marc Bergevin, and this is an assumption on my part, sees his value and sees that they've spent significant time developing him and he's improved year over year over year. And I believe that Marc Bergevin knows to win a Stanley Cup, you have to have a center of his defensive caliber. So, myself personally, I don't think Phil Danault wants out of Montreal. I think he was just saying what any athlete in his position would say. And I don't think Marc Bergevin has any desire to trade a guy like Phil Danault, who's starting to get mentioned in Selke conversations. I don't know. I just think it's very strange that any time a player begins to thrive in Montreal, a narrative begins about why they need to be traded out of Montreal. It's happened with Carey Price. People are saying it about Shea Weber. It's just, I don't get it, personally. Now, in a similar fashion, in regards to that topic, the reason why people think there's no space for Danault left on the team is because of how well Nick Suzuki and Kotkaniemi have played. And yes, they played unbelievable. They showed us glimpses as to why the Canadiens have such a bright future. Specifically, Nick Suzuki, but Kotkaniemi as well in his own right in terms of not only the offensive game he played, but just the physical impact he had on a lot of those games. They're two different players. I think they are the future 1 and 2 centers of the Montreal Canadiens. We might finally have a situation where our team has 2 number 1 centers, but I'm going to end that point with they're not ready yet. They're still extremely young. I think Nick Suzuki's a little closer to being ready than Kotkaniemi, and Kotkaniemi is getting there, and he's filling out, and he's getting more comfortable in the NHL, more confidence. But we all have to remember what we just witnessed was a very, very small sample size out of these players. They played in a best-of-5 series, And then they played in a best-of-7 series. In total, they played, what, 10 games or something? 11 games? So I don't think we can just say, yes, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, you are now the Montreal Canadiens' number 2 center. And yes, Nick Suzuki, you are now the Montreal Canadiens' number 1 center. I don't think it would be responsible to go about it that way. I really don't. Because I think over an 82 game season, I don't know, there's a lot of wear and tear. Nick Suzuki isn't a big guy, and I know you don't have to be big in the NHL, but you'll still deal with some wear and tear as a smaller player. You still have to, build some more strength as a smaller player. Same thing for Kotkaniemi. He's still tall and lanky. He's filling out a bit, but he's not in his final form yet. So I think over an 82 game season, I think you would see that these guys aren't quite ready to be a number 1 and number 2 center yet in terms of getting into the playoffs, continuing to be able to execute at that level of a number 1 and a number 2 center, and complete that grind in a full 82 game season and then a long playoffs. The Montreal Canadiens are soon going to be entering a stage where they expect to make the playoffs every year and make long playoff runs every year. I know people have memed and, slighted Bergevin for his comments on character, for his comments on attitude, but you're seeing that come to fruition. Just like people have memed him and slighted him about his comments about anything can happen, or we are a team on the cusp, we're a bubble team that may make it in, may not make it in. People have slighted him for that he's not expecting enough out of his team. But the reality of it is he has a very good read on his team and the stage they're in, and that type of messaging will soon change to, we make the playoffs this year, and we are going for the cup. No questions asked. I am confident that will happen. Now, that's all that said is why I think Phil Danault still has a very prominent role to play on the Montreal Canadiens, and that will continue over the next 3 to 4 years. Personally, I'm going to throw out a prediction right here and now. Phil Danault is what? 26, 27. I could see him signing a 6-year deal worth somewhere in the range of $6.25 million. Very similar to Jeff Petry's number. I think Jeff Petry may have left a little money on the table so that we can fit in Phil Danault and Brendan Gallagher. So I personally see Danault signing and then continuing to be the Montreal Canadiens' first or second line center for another year or two. And then when that time passes, he then might have to take a slightly lesser role as a third line center, but he would still be getting very difficult matchups each and every night and being on our number 1 penalty kill unit, so on and so forth. So that's what I see for Phil Danault. He has a very important role to play on this Canadiens team now, for the next few years, and into the future. And if he signs a deal around that length, that would put him at 32-ish, and it opens him up for his last huge contract that will put him towards the end of his career. That's my prediction on that subject. Now, the next hot topic is Max Domi should be shipped out. There's a lot of talk surrounding our centers. We've been a team desperate for center depth and true top 6 centers for many years, and now people want to trade them away. And I, once again, with Max Domi, I don't personally see him getting dealt either, unless the return is an absolute home run, no-brainer, something that you would never say no to. And I personally cannot see other GMs offering that type of deal after the season and return to play that Domi just had. Now, I still do think that Domi is a very talented player, capable of playing center in the NHL. He holds some value. He does hold high value. I'm just not sure if a GM will offer up a significant amount that Bergevin will be happy trading away a guy that's capable of putting up 72 points in a season at center at such a young age. 23 years old is when he did that. And personally, I do not think that season was a fluke on behalf of Max Domi. He did have a high shooting percentage that year. And I don't think you can use that to discount him. It'd be one thing if he had a high shooting percentage, which was an anomaly at the age of 28 or 29. But to have it at such a young age, I definitely think he can repeat that performance. He had a lot of trouble with his shot this year. He hit a lot of crossbars. He just barely missed the net quite a bit. And then he just found himself in a position where his season wasn't going the way anyone really anticipated. And then his minutes started to diminish a little bit. The other thing, too, is our power play on the Montreal Canadiens still isn't gelling so well. And that's taking away the production of a guy like Max Domi and another guy like Jonathan Drouin. So personally, I think Max Domi is another player who is going to sign. And this negotiation might be a little difficult because Max Domi might be looking to cash in. He's had friends like Mitch Marner who have cashed in. But the reality of it is that Max Domi has not shown consistency yet in his career in terms of being an elite player. So I don't think he can be signed to a contract that would have him getting elite level money. So he's going to have to take a deal that is fair to him and fair to the team. Now, we've seen Jeff Petrie do that. Hopefully, we will see Max Domi do that. He is now 25 years old. He's going to want to have that contract end when he's still in his prime and can get a long contract, again, similar to Phillip Danault. So, once again, I could see a deal for a guy like Max Domi. My prediction, somewhere around 5 years. That would put him at 30 when it's over, and a modest amount of around $5.85 million per year, which is a slight raise on what a guy like Drouin is making. Because Domi had a 72-point season, I probably would have said he could get up there in terms of AAV somewhere around 6.25. That seems to be my favorite number today, or 6.5. But with the season that he just had, and with the salary cap staying hard around that 82 million mark, I can't see his cap hit and his AAV being inflated how it would have been if the cap hit, or if the salary cap would have gone up. So that's my prediction for Mr. Max Domi. Now, yet another hot topic. We have the Patrik Laine discussions going on. It seems like the Winnipeg Jets are very serious about trading this player, which to me is a red flag. This is a Ovechkin-esque or an Ovechkin-light caliber of player. So unless it's Laine, who just does not want to live in Edmonton, does not want to deal with the weather, does not enjoy his role, and he's specifically asking for a trade or demanding a trade, then I just don't see why Winnipeg would want to trade a guy like this who's still a restricted free agent and they can potentially sign. You know, maybe they're concerned about what type of money he's asking for, what have you. It's hard to say. Now, to be able to acquire a guy like Patrik Laine, I don't know. The Habs are going to have to empty the cupboards to pull that one off. And I just don't think we are in a stage where we should do that. We've spent a significant amount of years building a prospect pool. And that's no easy task, especially when you consider when Marc Bergevin took over, he didn't really have the assets available to him to build that prospect pool right away. He had numerous players locked into contracts who were either in their prime or past their prime and who were expecting to push for a cup, and we had ownership who wanted to push for a cup. So he couldn't really sell the farm right away. So he had to just begin his tenure by slowly building that prospect pool by not trading away first and second round picks. But that was difficult because he ended up patching that team, doing a fairly good job of it, winning divisions, going on a couple playoff runs, which then made our draft picks really high or late in the draft. So then the caliber of players who are left in the draft at that point, is a lot worse than if you had sold all your players and tanked and been at the bottom. So after that team competed for a while, it didn't quite work out. We moved on to the reset, and that was finally Marc Bergevin's opportunity to really bolster that prospect pool. And he did a fantastic job of it, and we're finally in a position where we can say we have great young talent on our roster currently. We have great young talent in Laval, and we have great young talent outside of North America and the two North American professional leagues, which we've been waiting a long time to say. So I don't think right now's the time for us to package a bunch of that out, risk hindering us to get a Patrik Laine who potentially could be could have character issues. Now, I know you're getting a 30 or 40 goal scorer. You shouldn't have to worry about the character issues. But the thing is, maybe the guy does not want to play in Canada. Who's to say that, right? So, I don't know. If we were going to be going out looking to acquire Patrik Laine, Cole Caulfield would be out the door right away. I think, like I've said previously, I don't think we're going to be looking to trade Max Domi. I don't think we're going to be looking to trade Phillip Danault. So the next up will be Thomas Tatar, who's an unrestricted free agent after this season. So Caulfield, Tatar, the first round pick would have to be involved right away. And then you'd be looking at adding likely another prospect on top of that, and not a slouch prospect either. It'd have to be a significantly good one. And the only ones I can think of are guys that our team would more than likely want to keep and develop on their own, like Alexander Romanov, like Matthias Norlinder, like Cale Fleury. So I personally just don't think there is a deal to be made between the Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens for Patrik Laine at this time. I could be wrong, but it just doesn't seem like a Marc Bergevin style move. But maybe I could be wrong about Max Domi staying. Maybe he could be the centerpiece. Then you got a first round pick. Then you got Cole Caulfield. That's actually pretty close. Then your additional prospect that you'd have to add wouldn't have to be of A caliber. It wouldn't have to be a Romanov. It wouldn't have to be a Norlinder. Maybe it could be a Cale Fleury. But that's tough. I like Cale Fleury. I think he's got a good future ahead of him in the NHL. I was really impressed by him this year. So, I don't know. It's a risky trade. Personally, I think there's probably someone else out there on the market that could fill our need on right wing that's not going to cost an arm and a leg. A deal where you could trade Thomas Tatar, a first-round pick, and a prospect like Jordan Harris for an established NHL right winger in their prime. I don't know who that could be, but I could definitely see that type of package filling a need, a specific need more so than just throwing the farm at the Winnipeg Jets, who are looking to compete now. So they'd need not only would they need NHL talent, but they'd want futures too. So I just don't see there being a deal to be made between those teams. Of course, hit the subscribe button if you like these videos, and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter @Scotian Canadian. Go Habs, go, baby! Woo!